Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday, making our way through March. As I said last week, just trying to identify a way to use these last couple of weeks before we get into April when it's got 5 to kick off a new topic. And one of those was just trying to see the advantage of talking about three pillars training, something that has been around for a while since we kind of showed up in this facility, but trying to make it a little well known and spread it through a couple weeks of material and a couple of talks, because I think there's a couple of phases to it that helps athletes of all ages, whether it's been kind of birthed out of the counseling office working with different athletes because of my history playing college basketball, but working with a lot of youth, high school, college athletes when they have an injury or a setback or a difficulty, but realizing that there are athletes well beyond those competitive immediate competitive levels and athletes who are just trying to be active and stay passionate about the things they like to do. Well, every single person who wants to be athletic sometimes will run through an injury or an unexpected event, a setback that comes into play. And that's where Three Pillars training has really proven to be helpful. Wanted to bring that into the gym for notification and for people who attend the gym and those that you know. Because getting back into the athletic ability you have, the autonomy you have, overcoming one of those setbacks is crucial to be able to do that. So writing on Monday, just introducing some key ideas about why it's important to be able to do that is first just the endurance after you have an injury or a setback. It really does take the momentum away. It kind of takes that breath away. There's probably some physiological symptoms of, oh my gosh, what happened? And be able to do that for any person that comes through, but for those who are actively engaged in a competitive sport, it is especially impactful and kind of interrupts things and has them trying to catch their breath. So this immediate impact of trying to remind them that recovery can still happen. Those goals that they have, the opportunities they wanted to experience is still possible. Second, kind of laying out the expectations of what happens. Far too often, pain is a motivator that just says, I've got to get through this as fast as I can. I don't like this pain. I have to push. And sometimes people will take shortcuts. So reminding them that restoration will take the right amount of time, that it's not possible to rush through something and come out of it if you want to compete at the same level or have the same level of functioning in that goal or in that passion area. It will take more time to do that in the right way versus pushing hard, uh, pushing too hard to get through it. And then finally, writing about the idea how people have insights when they go through an injury, when they go through an unexpected setback in regards to their passion, their sport, their activity level. They learn something, and resiliency, I would say, is heavily tied to what do they do about those insights and how do they apply them? Because often wisdom is gained along the way, even in those failure situations or those setbacks. And if someone can identify those and go forward, it's going to be much better for them in the long run to be able to do it. So whether it's youth, high schoolers, college, or adults, everybody's going to go through this same stage because everybody wants to be active and pursuing the passions that they have. Some are engaged in the team setup that they're able to do it, but we certainly know there's lots of people who are engaged athletically and competitively far beyond age 22 and beyond. So that's really, really, really good to talk about on Monday and bring into the gym. There'll be some exercises on email as well, just about identifying what are some injuries you've gone through. We'll come back to that with some questions this morning. But I came across an article that I wanted to share that was very, very helpful to lay out, I think, in a concise way. I think people are trained when they have an injury to do what, right? Go to the doctor, get it assessed, be able to talk to a professional, medical professional that way, and kind of get the physical side taken care of. Well, the article I came across and shared from the National Institutes of Health was athletes' mental health and quality of life after sports injuries, and really was helpful to lay out what are the differences that happen between men and women in particular, but also laid out a table that talked of 5 different approaches that are crucial to overcoming injury. I thought was very applicable. It resonates with me as a mental health professional trying to help athletes go through things. And here's what they recommended and what they found in their study very helpful to overcoming setbacks. First was some mindfulness-based stress reduction training. Now, it's a really long phrase to be able to say, how do you help people manage their emotions after an impact event? How do you help them stand firm, not lose everything, right? When someone has had an injury, suddenly they think, oh my goodness, everything is gone. So managing emotions, leading into managing expectations are important. Second one, you've heard me mention this phrase before around the gym, acceptance and commitment training. It's something related to acting upon core values versus the immediacy of the moment, right? Reminding somebody that they have a skill set, reminding someone that they have a good talent, a good base, a good support network, so that when they feel like everything is falling away, they can catch their breath. They can say, well, here's what I can apply to this. I'm going to mention about insights. You remind them of what they're good at, they have a chance to get through that more. Motivational enhancement training, basically identifying personal reasons for change. You've been through some hardship before. How can you apply some of those lessons in this situation, and how can you get through it? Psychological support programs. This is where that article really talked about the psychological impact, the value of talking with a counselor when you go through an injury of any age. And that's simply to say minimizing uncertainty in the setbacks and the long, grueling aspect of recovering from something, because sometimes those injuries require surgery, right? And immobility, and an extended period of time of not being able to do something. You need some ways to minimize that uncertainty. And finally, even social supports, right? What are the collaborations that can happen? There's a physician or a surgeon, having a counselor to be able to come alongside that, being able to have a mentor to come alongside. It really does illustrate lots of things that we've talked about around here regarding community and leaning on others and being transparent about what concerns you or what's difficult. So a very, very helpful article. Two links are shared, one to the whole article and one just to the table, to understand that a little bit more, to show there's always a physical side to these setbacks and there's a psychological side to these setbacks. And you should be able to address both. And that's where that 3 pillars option is very, very helpful. So I mentioned the questions. Just realizing no matter what age we are as we come through the gym today, there's probably a moment that you had. Here's the question: what was a painful injury or set of injuries you've had at any age and had to endure through? Because my assumption is everybody can relate to this kind of setback, this kind of experience where you're cruising right along and doing well, something happens and you experience that crash. So how did you endure and go through it? But what was the event that sent you down? What was your painful injury or set of injuries at any age of your life that really left its mark? What comes to mind? An elbow one? Uh-huh. Presently. Working back. Others? What'd you say? Labor and delivery. A lot of recovery for moms. It's true. Interrupts, right? The flow of activity, routines. Guys, you got anything to compete with that? Just kidding. It's not a sports injury. Yeah. It's that idea that there are injuries that affect your level. Anything else that comes to mind? Torn hamstring. Does not sound fun. Shoulders, right? You see, these are all things that affect not just the thing you're passionate about in doing life, but it affects your functionality in day, right? It prevents you from being able to do those other passions. Remember the diverse identities we talked about in the Pearl Street Way? It's hard to do any of those identities and responsibilities when you have an injury. So that's where trying to face it in the right form and the right template is good. So whatever that injury was that you shared or you were thinking about, do you remember what was essential to your own recovery? What helped you get back and adapt after that setback to be more functional, to be back to the level you wanted to be? What was the crucial thing for you? What helped you do that? What's that? Yeah, modifications. Giving yourself grace to line things up better. Any others besides modification that helped you get back to where you wanted to be? Physical therapy? using a professional's knowledge and expertise. It's good. Any others? Time. Time. Like when I said in the article, you got to really focus on those expectations. You can't rush through some of these injuries or what happens, right? It's got to be readdressed, or it has to be done, or it's just going to end up being less functioning than it was before. So some final comments about all this, about where involvement with a mental health professional during a recovery process is important, is first, I think it helps reduce doubts. After that injury, passion can be sustained even through those ups and downs. When you're by yourself and you go through those ups and downs, the ups are great. And the downs, when you don't have someone to talk to or realize, those doubts seem to reign in those low points and really rob people of that momentum even further. Second, it's this question of who are you listening to? Positive self-talk and feedback is an essential part of overcoming any kind of unexpected event. And if you don't have those sources of positive feedback, those brains, your own brain with the negative self-talk and those doubts are going to outweigh the success you want to be able to see. And then finally, this recognition that during an injury, during a setback, there's a lot of time and attention that goes toward that recovery, and you forget about other personal self-care aspects. So having this broad focus on just the other aspects of life, other responsibilities, and other parts of the physical body or the roles and routines that happen, the other dimensions of wellness is important. So when you're talking to somebody in an ongoing way, it helps to balance those things out. So this week's about talking about this first phase of where 3 Pillars training can help, and it's really kind of that initial impact of an injury. We got 1 week left this month to talk about it. We'll talk about that second phase where it's more of that recovery and encountering that functionality again next week. We all have an injury or a setback or an unexpected event that takes us away from the autonomy, the athleticism, or the functionality we want to have. And part of that theme this week is don't do it alone when you're trying to go through it. Whether it's a professional through something like this at the gym, or if it's just through your own support network, have somebody who can help you collaborate, process through those things, facilitate the appointments, make up for the immobility you might have or the extended period of time where you can't do what you want to do. So good to talk about this at length, and I look forward to next week to do more. But everybody have a good workout and a good week. And I'm glad we all survived 25 inches of snow or whatever else too. So have a good day. Thanks.